Welcome to the Movie Reactor. Today I will show you an horror, mystery, and thriller film from 2023 titled Saw X. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below to help advise me on how to make this channel more intriguing for your enjoyment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. As John Kramer / Jigsaw begins the movie, he is receiving cancer treatment. He joins a support group and learns from his doctor that he should stop working because he only has about a year to live. John observes a custodian rifling through an elderly patient's possessions. Then John sees the caretaker as a prey in a trap with 2 vacuums strapped to his eyes and a third apparatus on his right hand attached to fingers. Each action the caretaker takes results in the loss of a finger from his hand as he attempts to stop the trap from sucking out his eyeballs. His eyeballs are sucked out, and he appears to give up. Actually, the custodian leaves the patient's possessions alone after noticing John monitoring him. Henry Kessler, a member of John's support group, turns up later. Henry had previously claimed to have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, but he now displays a surgical scar and claims to have undergone an experimental operation that has rendered him disease-free. John learns about the procedure's initiator, Dr. Finn Peterson, from Henry. Later, John contacts Cecilia, Peterson's daughter, who directs him to her clinic that has opened in Mexico. When John visits Mexico, he meets Diego, a taxi driver. When a van pulls in front of the cab, 2 armed guys get out and drag John out. When he identifies himself, they take him to the clinic, which seems to be located in a big estate. He encounters Gabriella, a young woman who says she received therapy from Cecilia and was cured. After that, John sees Cecilia in person, and she walks him through the procedure. She introduces Mateo and Valentina, her aides, to John. John wakes up in the middle of the night before the surgery to find Carlos, a young neighbor, attempting to fix his bicycle. John assists him and shows the boy kindness. Later, John has the surgery, which Cecilia predicts would result in his fading consciousness. Assuming that the procedure went well, John tells Cecilia that he will send her the remaining amount at a later time. As a parting gift for Gabriella, John visits a liquor store and purchases a bottle of tequila. When he goes back, the clinic is closed. John enters the surgical suite only to discover proof that the gang fabricated the procedure, stole his money, and never even performed the surgery. He then violently destroys the bottle and calls one of his resources as he starts to plot his retaliation. John tracks down Diego, who was impersonating the doctor conducting the surgery at the time. He sets up a trap for him, forcing him to disarm 2 pipe bombs that are hooked into his arms. Diego severely shreds off skin while cutting into his arms, but he manages to remove the bombs before they explode, saving his life. John congratulates him before compelling Diego to provide the other details he requires. Valentina has a side business as a prostitute. When she tries to con a man into giving her money, he almost rapes her before Amanda Young, dressed as a pig, arrives to kill the rapist and take Valentina. The next scene depicts Mateo as Gabriella's drug dealer and Gabriella as a drug addict. They are both taken hostage and knocked out. Finally, Cecilia is inside her house when she notices an intruder on the roof via her security cameras. Despite her attempts to flee, she is also seized. The 4 con artists awaken in a chamber while shackled. Stepping outside, John and Amanda confront them about their deceitful scheme to rob dying people of everything they had. Cecilia tries to get out of it by claiming that John's situation was unique, but he can tell she's still lying. The game then starts for him. Valentina is caught in a trap with a jigsaw in a box next to her and a wire saw in front of her neck. She is instructed to amputate her right leg and use the bone marrow to free herself. Valentina is given 3 minutes to cut through her leg and begin to extract her marrow. However, the cup doesn't fill up in time, and she is severed from her head. The 3 people still see a phone on a cart in the center of the space. To use as a rope to pull the cart toward them, Cecilia slices into Valentina's corpse and removes her intestines. Amanda strikes Cecilia when she tries to call for assistance and then snatches the phone. Outside, a different patient named Parker Sears, whom John had previously met during another fraudulent procedure, arrives brandishing a gun and that Cecilia return his money. He is knocked out, and Amanda steals his revolver. John adds that if Parker follows their guidelines, he can assist in getting his money back. Even though John wanted Gabriella to be the next, Amanda feels bad for her because she, too, was a drug addict who is now clean. Mateo ultimately travels first. His trap is to make him sever brain tissue from his head and place it in an enzyme jar. A key will emerge to release him after the matter has completely vanished. Mateo makes an incision in his head and attempts to endure the discomfort. Unfortunately, he also misses the deadline for his duty, and a mask closes around his head, trapping him inside and killing him with fire. Next is Gabriella's trap. One arm and one leg are holding her to the ceiling. She is instructed to shatter her limbs with a sledgehammer in order to liberate herself, or else a radiation machine will burn her to death. Gabriella breaks the bones in her hand and foot against her will, releasing herself but receiving burns on her face. Parker is working with Cecilia and is her lover, but John and Amanda release him before turning their attention to Cecilia. To ask him to save her, she called him on the phone. John and Amanda are made to chain themselves up by Parker, who is holding them at gunpoint. Cecilia steps on Gabriella's neck and breaks it when John says she needs to be transported to the hospital because she doesn't want any loose ends, she claims. She also admits to John that she knew he was Jigsaw and thinks it's funny that a killer is attempting to get even with her. Carlos can be heard kicking a soccer ball outside. When Cecilia drags the youngster inside, she forces him to be bound to John on a seesaw trap, but John begs the boy in Spanish not to fire the trigger. John and Carlos are waterboarded with blood after Cecilia and Parker set off the trap. In order for the blood to merely begin to drown him, John pushes his lever. Parker and Cecilia return to the office to retrieve their money in the meantime. But when Cecilia tugs on a bag where the money is meant to be, she sets off a 10-minute timer. Then the trap set by John and Carlos is set off, and Hello Zep starts to play. Flashbacks reveal that John and Amanda were ready for Parker to arrive and pull the trick because they were aware of Parker's involvement from the beginning. In the same instant, the deadly gas begins to enter the room while Cecilia and Parker are confined inside. The bag includes documents demonstrating withdrawals from Cecilia's accounts. While the gas also burns their skin, they both struggle to find a breathing hole. Parker is fatally stabbed by Cecilia in an effort to save herself, as John and Amanda had forewarned him. As the timer expires, Cecilia pokes her head out and manages to survive, but she is trapped in the chamber with no way to call for aid and can only shout out in vain to John. Carlos is led outside by John and Amanda as it is already morning. The money collected from Cecilia's con is subsequently given to Carlos by John. Midway through the credits, John has tracked down Henry with help from Detective Mark Hoffman. John figured that Henry was in on the scam, as he no longer has his fake surgical scar. John tells him I want to play a game and activates a trap on Henry's body that will cut into his stomach. Henry can only scream in terror. Please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the content, then please hit the like button as it helps the channel and is greatly appreciated. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy watching this content, then please share and help this community grow. Thanks for watching.